Welcome to Joshua chapter 19. My name is Frank, and this is Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. If you're here for the very first time, I need to remind you of two things. One is that you can go back and track through the whole book of Joshua. You can actually enjoy reading. I said this yesterday, I'll say it today, that you can actually go and read chapter 1, then write down your takeouts, then listen to this devotion and see how did you see the scripture versus what stood out for you compared to what stood out for us as we reflect on this. But also the second thing is remember that if you listen to this and you have somebody in mind who needs to hear whatever message we have today, remember to share it with them. And if you've not subscribed and it's your first time here, then subscribe so that you can be getting the notifications. That's a really good thing about subscribing. It's that when you forget, the notification comes. I get the notification every morning. Sometimes by if I'm awake at midnight, the notification for this channel comes and I get to go and listen, or I listen to it in the morning. So those are the two things I'd remind you. But we're in Joshua chapter 19. We're in the part of the book now where the tribes of Israel are just being given their land and being shown where they are going to settle. And in Joshua chapter 19 today, we are seeing the tribe of Simeon being allotted land in verse 1 till around verse 9, 10 there. And then from verse 10, the tribe of Zebulun, they get their land. In verse 17, it's the tribe of Issachar. And then 24, it's Asher. 32, it's Naphtali. And it continues that way. Then Dan in verse 40. And then in verse 49, which is where I want us to pay attention to, Joshua is being allocated land. Why is this important? It's because Joshua is the leader of this tribe of Israel. And imagine, we've gone from Joshua chapter 1, tracked all through to Joshua chapter 19. Everybody has come for their piece of land. Every tribe has been allocated their piece of land. Joshua's right-hand man, Caleb, was allocated somewhere in verse 14, in chapter 14 there. And in verse 49 it says this: when they had finished dividing the land into its allotted portions, the Israelites gave Joshua, son of Nun, an inheritance among them, as the Lord had commanded. They gave him the town he asked for, Timnath-Serah, in the hill country of Ephraim. And he built up the town and settled there. This chapter, the same takeouts we had for Caleb are the takeouts that I want to share with you about Joshua. I think for me, I am finding it so refreshing to come across leaders who, after they had finished the task they'd been given, is when they started thinking about themselves. Like for Joshua, it's not even him. He's not even the one who went to ask for land. He went, he fought, he divided the land, he allocated, he settled everyone. Then they came to him and they're like, here is now your land, you go and settle where God has asked us to settle you down. I'm really, as I read this, I'm getting a very refreshing picture of what leadership looks like. I'm getting the picture of a leadership that prioritizes people, a leadership that prioritizes the task. And I'm not saying that as a leader you need to live outside and be rained on, as you're serving people. But I'm seeing this because in our country, you and I know that we need this kind of leadership in our country. It's a leadership, there's this phrase that says leaders eat last. It's not that we should be hungry, but it's just the thing that we need to pray to God. If you're a leader and you're listening to this, I need you to go to God and be like, help me to learn to prioritize the needs of others before I bring on my own. This is very refreshing. I say this when we were reading about Caleb, because he did the same thing, that we have to move away from this thing where we elect leaders or choose leaders and then we don't even, we've gotten so used to the fact that when they enter those positions of leadership, they take care of their needs first before they even think about why they were elected there. But Joshua and Caleb demonstrate something different to us. Learning to put other people first. Learning to come back later when everything has been done and everyone is comfortable. Then we'll be like, okay, now I can settle in that hill country. I hope that whatever position God has put you in, I don't know what position you're in or where you're listening from, but I hope that you can take time today and pray for God to give you that kind of heart, a heart that serves people, a heart that loves people, and a heart that puts people in front and puts the needs of others before your own needs. Whatever that need looks like. We need this kind of selflessness. I think we don't see it enough in our society today. But then before we even talk about it in terms of the leaders that we know in public spaces, I hope that this is something that you can learn to do in your private space first. Whether it's just with your friends or with your family. There's a lot of me-ness that is going on. I, me. There's a lot of that goes on in our society today. But I hope that God can teach you and teach me how to think about other people and how to sometimes even to listen to other people and give them the space that they need to express themselves fully before we comment and say things, and just to be in a place where we are able to put other people first in the spaces that we walk into. I'm not asking you to be a doormat. I'm not asking you to be a door rag to allow everybody to walk all over you. I'm asking you to be a servant leader, to be a selfless leader, and to be a leader who puts people first. That's what I see in verse 49, in chapter 19, verse 49 and 50. And I hope that it inspires you to get to a place where this selflessness can be exchanged for the self. Actually, let me say that differently, where our self-centeredness can be exchanged for selflessness in everything that we do. Have a great day. Remember to share, to subscribe, and to like. Bye.